We're going to take a look at the Chords for a Lifetime book. Here's some of the things you'll be learning. Here's the table of contents. Going to go on into that. Now we start off with Get Ready for Hymns. And this is just, obviously, just exercises in developing all the positions for the 1, the 4, and the 5 chord. And typically what you learn for guild auditions is 1, 4, 5, 1. And sometimes they get this. And sometimes they get this. But you don't usually get all the shapes of the 5 chord, which would be... to 1. And then there's a slightly easier exercise there. All right, then harmony. This is really critical, and it's such an easy exercise, is to learn to play thirds and sixths for your basic progressions. So you would play like, here's the 1 chord, thirds, here's the 4 chord. I'm going to go down to the 5 just so you can see it. So you're playing root third, third, fifth, root third, third, fifth, root third, third, fifth, fifth, seventh. And then the bottom of the page is doing the same exercise with sixths. And then you're going to be able to harmonize all kinds of things like that. So, or let's take this simple tune. You're eventually going to want to put harmony in your right hand. There's a 6 below the melody. Here's a 3rd below the melody. Back to 6. So you're starting to harmonize in the right hand, which is great. All right, then which is actually where everything goes. You're eventually going to always harmonize in your right hand, not your left hand, if you're playing standard tunes and things. All right, then we start with dozens of progressions you just have to master. One with the 2 chord in all positions. Then you get a 1, 4, 1. Then you get a 2, 6 chord. 1, 6, 4. All shapes. You really need that one. Then you get a 1, 6, 4. 2, 6, meaning 2 with the 3rd on the bottom. 1, 6, 4 means 1 chord with the 5th on the bottom. 5. And all the hymns in the world and many, many, many classical pieces end with that. So, for example, here's... here's a 2, 6, 1, 6, 4, 5, 7, 1. And all the hymns in the world go like that. Right, then we have a little exercise where you're playing 5, 7, 1, whoops, in all positions. 5, 1, 5, 1. And then here, 5, 1, 5, 1. So you can jump to a 5 chord at any point. Then we have a little exercise with borrowed sevenths. And then here's more borrowed sevenths. And then there's a great exercise right there where you start seeing how to use a secondary dominant to get to another key. So here's from the 1 chord you can make, actually from the 2 chord right here, you can go, it'll take you to G. Then you go to C, make a dominant out of 1, takes you to 4. Make a dominant out of 3, takes you to 6. Make a dominant out of 6, whoops, takes you to 2. I know my arrow's not pointing. And then you can go to 7, takes you to 3. And then a wonderful progression at the bottom where you can just fiddle with this progression for hours and hours. It's the Pachelbel. Okay, and that's great to play with. All right, I'm going to skip the blues page. You don't need that. Now then there's an exercise here in two-hand vamp, which is, what's the point of that? If you need to play something upbeat and people need to sing it, bell jingle bells, da, 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 da. This is a great thing to play. And then there's the three-hand vamp, where you're going to have to play the actual melody. And play melody and offbeat chords in the right hand, and root and fifth in the left hand. Then here's another progression where you're going to put the 2 chord in the first inversion and the 5 chord in the second inversion. So like you would have, you can't see it very well here. Let's see if I'm in F. The 2 chord would be G minor, and you go back to the 1 chord and the 5, but it doesn't sound right. But if you play the 2 chord with the 3rd on the bottom, which is the 2/6 chord, then the 1 chord with the 5th on the bottom, and then finally the 5 chord, you get a really strong move. Every hymn in the world ends up like that, and many, many, many classical pieces end that way too. So you need to know that progression. Then here's an exercise using that, so you can start practicing making those changes. And then here's a hymn giving you a chance to practice that progression. There's another hymn with using that progression. My Country 'Tis of Thee is just a classic 2/6, 5, 2/6, 1/6/4. Then it goes actually to 6, then 2/6, 1/6/4, 5/7/1. Such a common progression that you really need to know it in all 12 keys again. And this Joy to the World has a classic way of ending. You can see it goes 2/6, 2/6, 1/6/4, 5/7/1. You're gonna see I'm coming in right here. So 2/6, 1/6/4, 5/7/1. Every hymn in the world is going to end like that. All right, now these pages are critical because these are progressions you should have gotten before you ever went to college. Because these progressions gotten in all keys, you're going to be ahead of literally every music theory department in the country. So you go through all of these shapes, left-hand chords, left-hand root, right-hand chords, all 3 positions, starting from here, or here. And they're written out for you, so you've got all the different keys. All inversions there. More. So you want to get all of those things. And then we have a couple of pages of very easy melodies to harmonize. So you can do So you can do that in all keys. All 12 keys. Then the next page is giving you tunes that are 1, 4, and 5 that you'll play in all 12 keys. There's your 4, 1. And you learn to do a 3-hand vamp of that. Then the next page is, no, that's it. That's the last page of that book. So there's a lot of stuff at the beginning for hymns and classical progressions, then all the progressions you need practically in the world, and then 2 tunes to start getting them in all 12 keys. And all 12 keys is really easy once you realize that your hands don't move. It's going to be the same shape. progressions. So that's a good start. It's a really good workout.